Hey everybody. Um, I just want to make a quick little. Um, I wasn't fully prepared. Now I have to get a book and show you guys. Oh, here it is. I know it's a huge. I'm getting bombarded. I'm getting bombarded by her. Where is she? There she is. I know it's weird, but um, kind of interesting. Did you guys know that Notre Dame Cathedral means Our Lady? And I've been getting all these different. Um, it's almost as though like someone is channeling me and giving me these things to share. But so I have this book called Revelation Beyond the Cross, and um, it talks about like atonement. It talks about how the church was established, how the kingdom was opened. It basically gives you the narrative of, like, I always think about Easter, and I always tell people nowadays, like, if you want to teach your kids that, um, you know, bunnies poop eggs that you eat the candy out of, you're already setting you're already giving them into delusion. But if you were to tell them that it's a day to be looked upon because people dress up as bunnies and people give eggs as charity or for friendship, that's okay too. Um, the children nowadays are different than how we were as kids. Like, we were to be sort of innocent and blinded, if you may, so that when we wake up, it's in a greater magnified wave. Where am I trying to go with this? So, this book, um, I always look at how Revelation, the Bible itself, how it was reworded and rewritten by King James. Not saying he's a bad guy, but because of his origin of who he is, and it's almost like thinking that this world was already like full of a bloodline race of people who, carry out all these different things. Anyway, we already know what's. I won't. That's not my territory. Is to give out the, like, I don't. I never want to say Illuminati or Masonry and whatnot. It was already here. The thing about it is, when you really dig into like the origins of how everything came about, um, you got to go way, way back to Enlil Inky. You got to go back to Kronos and uh, Thor or Zeus. I get like Greek mythology mixed up with Marvel. Jupiter and Saturn. So there's always been two. There's always been two different rivalries competing to be the best son. Cain and Abel, uh, uh, Ra and Horus, um, who else? Mary Kate. I'm just kidding. But that's just what I was saying, is that I think if people had known or seen the future and knew how to control the narrative of the future, they wrote it in inscriptions, not scripture, but they put it in inscriptions. And I kind of look at symbolism differently than a lot of people, because I use discernment all the time, which means I try to go 24 hours without saying anything about anyone or making a comment about anything that I observe. I just try to stay just I see it, and I don't want to make a judgment, and that allows me to see things for what they really are. But I think the light bringers of the past created the greatest trick in the world, which was to write out how they saw the future and told everybody that basically created this narrative, right? And gave the enemy or the enemies, because let's say that the beast or the serpent, the great serpent or whatever, was already slayed by her. It was in one of the walls of the cathedral. Why the Virgin slayed the beast, or how, that's all in my last video. I think it's in my last video. But basically, everyone is part of an incarnation where we don't leave the dome. We stay in the dome, like we're all kept in the dome, which means there's this work, this doing and undoing in ourselves. And there's this enemy that people have created, or deluded themselves. I was sharing with people today, I said, do you guys think the enemy is a little red creature below the earth with molten lava, seeking revenge on you as a person with no intent? Or is the enemy between your ears? So that's what I was sharing with everybody, that if the orchestrator of bad doings was destroyed, then all the followers just want to continue the narrative or continue because I think like they think it's free roam. I could do what I want now because no one's in control. No one's the head of the household left and abandoned the home. So with that said, I think the good guys may have wrote Revelations to intend on the opposing side to recreate in the physical form those things. So it was a trick. And why am I saying this out loud is because the battle's already lost. And excuse me, my solar plexus. That always happens when I'm giving out my words of wisdom. I also think too, when I was watching the news, it said battle for Notre Dame, which basically kind of tells you that it's partial metaphysical and it's partial whoever has the money to create, a future timeline and push everyone into this pushing them off the cliff where they jump into this timeline. I have these interesting flies in my place. Okay, you can stay here. Just don't bite me. So that's where my thought process is. After driving home just now, after uploading that last really crazy video, which is a good video, good, informative. But we were told something that people foresaw, and then the future's changing now. Things are going a different direction. So this whole like fireballs and Armageddon is here and this World War III is coming, you guys have to unplug from that because it's not going to happen. You might see a country do something, and this is all in scripture too. You might see a country do something behind everyone's back, and an area or territory you wouldn't think that would discipline them for what they did might step up and do it too. Well, do it to them. And the U.S. will have their hands washed clean, and it might be a good 1,000-year reign after all this happens. I don't see, and I'm very prophetic, I'm very visual, I get a lot of intel, and I see a lot of things in the future, but I don't see nuclear war because our space brothers, if you may, they always stop the nuclear attacks. It's not going to happen. If Space Brothers were in cahoots with our Space Force, which is what we have, they would know what alternative future there is, what happened with a future timeline, how to shift and change it. It's just what everything is changeable. Change can always interrupt and undo or redo or even co-create. So, with my advice of the day, and this is what I'm working on for myself, is I have the will and I have the compassion to want the things that I want now, or not do anything and allow myself to go through learning that I have to will to want that same thing. So ask for it now, or wait and go through a circumstance to where you're going to have to ask for it then. So I think that's what's happening now is we're acting on changing things right now because the future was altered, the future was changed, and I think it's a good thing. So that's all I want to share with you guys. I gotta go. Gotta go to the bank. Bye.